Puss in Boots. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had 3 sons. When the miller passed away, he left nothing but his mill, a donkey, and a cat. The oldest son took the mill, the second son took the donkey, and the youngest son, much to his dismay, was left with just the cat. The youngest son was very disappointed. "What can I do with a cat?" he wondered aloud. "I can't make a living with just a cat." But to his surprise, the cat spoke up. "Don't worry, master," said the cat. "Just give me a pair of boots and a bag, and you'll see that I'm worth more than you think." The young man was curious, so he found the cat some old boots and a simple bag. The cat put on the boots, slung the bag over his shoulder, and set off into the forest. Puss in Boots, as he was now known, filled his bag with some bran and fresh greens and lay it on the ground. Soon, a plump rabbit hopped by and sniffed the bag, tempted by the food. When the rabbit stuck its head inside, Puss pulled the drawstring tight and caught the rabbit. Pleased with his catch, Puss in Boots went straight to the king's castle. The clever cat presented the rabbit to the king. "A gift from my master, the Marquis of Carabas," Puss in Boots declared, though his master was no marquis at all. The king was pleased with the gift and accepted it graciously. Over the next few weeks, Puss in Boots continued to catch game, rabbits, partridges, and even a fat pheasant, and brought them to the king, each time announcing they were gifts from his master, the Marquis of Carabas. The king grew very fond of this mysterious marquis he had never met. One day, Puss in Boots heard that the king and his daughter, the beautiful princess, were going for a ride along the river. Puss quickly ran to his master. "Master, if you do exactly as I say, your fortune will be made," the cat promised. Puss in Boots instructed his master to go to the river and bathe. When the king's carriage approached, Puss began to shout, "Help! Help! My master, the Marquis of Carabas, is drowning." Hearing the cries, the king ordered his guards to rescue the poor man. When the young man was pulled from the river, he was shivering and had no clothes. Puss in Boots explained to the king that thieves had stolen his master's clothes while he was swimming. The king, feeling sorry for the marquis, ordered his servants to bring fine clothes for the young man. Dressed in royal garments, the young man looked so handsome that the princess immediately took a liking to him. As they continued their ride, Puss in Boots ran ahead to a grand castle owned by a wicked ogre who was very rich and powerful. The ogre could also change his shape into any animal he wished. Puss in Boots knocked on the door, and the ogre, curious about the visitor, let him in. The clever cat flattered the ogre, saying he had heard of his great powers, and asked if it was true that the ogre could change into any creature, even something as mighty as a lion. The ogre, eager to show off, immediately transformed into a lion, roaring loudly. Puss pretended to be very frightened, which pleased the ogre even more. Then, Puss in Boots asked if the ogre could change into something as small and insignificant as a mouse. The ogre, wanting to show he could do anything, quickly transformed into a tiny mouse. Quick as a flash, Puss in Boots pounced on the mouse and ate him up, getting rid of the wicked ogre once and for all. When the king's carriage arrived at the castle, Puss in Boots welcomed them, saying, "Welcome to the castle of my master, the Marquis of Carabas." The king was very impressed and offered his daughter's hand in marriage to the young man, who, thanks to Puss in Boots, was now a wealthy and powerful nobleman. The young man and the princess were married and lived happily ever after in the ogre's grand castle. And as for Puss in Boots, he became a great lord and never had to chase mice again. And that's the story of Puss in Boots. It teaches us that cleverness and quick thinking can turn even the smallest of fortunes into something grand.